All right, so you're an automotive pro, and you're looking to lock down a stable, long-term career with the United States Postal Service. Well, you've come to the right place. Today, we are breaking down the absolute most critical step in that whole process, acing the USPS Automotive exam. Okay, let's get into it.
And we're going to start right here with this quote, because this isn't just about passing a test, it's about a mission. The source material for this whole explainer really hammers this point home. Passing isn't just about what you know. It's about having the discipline to prepare. So keep that in your head as we go through this.
So why even take on this mission in the first place? Well, the rewards are pretty significant. We're talking about incredible job stability, the kind you don't find just anywhere. We're talking full federal benefits and a retirement plan that'll actually secure your future. This isn't just another shop job. It's a career that can set you and your family up for life. That's what's waiting for you at the finish line.
Now, to get there, you have to navigate the entire hiring process, which the source material calls a 10-step gauntlet. And yeah, it kind of is. We're not going to get bogged down in every single little step, but you got to see the whole map before we zoom in on the main event, right?
So here's that quick flyover of the map. You create your profile, you apply, your application gets reviewed, and then you hit step 4, the testing invitation. This is the gatekeeper. This is the one step that really decides if you're going to move forward. You pass the test, and then you're on to background checks and, if everything goes well, orientation. But you can see it all hinges on that exam.
So, let's get right to the heart of it. Let's decode the core challenge of this whole mission. The Postal Service uses 2 main exams to find the right people for their fleet. Test 943 and Test 944. Understanding which one you're up against and what's on it is absolutely crucial. At a high level, the big difference is just complexity. Test 943 is for the Automotive Technician role. It focuses on all the fundamentals, maintenance, safety, basic diagnostics. But Test 944, that's for the Automotive Mechanic, and it's the advanced version. It takes everything from 943 and then just layers on much, much deeper diagnostic challenges.
And this chart really lays it out perfectly. Look at this. Both tests are going to cover you on preventative maintenance, shop safety, and intermediate diagnostics. But you can see right there where Test 944 just goes way further into advanced diagnostics, engine systems, HVAC, and the drivetrain. So the key takeaway here? Know which job you're applying for so you know exactly what you need to study.
So let's drill down into Test 943 first. This is your foundation. Think preventative maintenance, brakes, tires, lube jobs, filters. You'll definitely need to know your way around basic electrical systems, and of course, shop safety is huge. You're also going to get tested on using tools, reading diagrams, and just general mechanical reasoning. And it's all in a timed multiple-choice format.
Now for Test 944. This exam basically assumes you know everything from 943 and then says, okay, smart guy, can you solve the really tough problems? We're talking deep dive engine diagnostics, chasing down complex electrical faults, understanding OBD2 logic. That's your onboard diagnostics, of course, and even specific HVAC knowledge, which usually means being familiar with MAX standards. This test is for those senior roles where you're going to be the go-to problem solver.
Okay, so you know which test you're facing. Now it's time for the mission briefing. Let's go over the essential intel, the core knowledge areas that you absolutely have to know to succeed, no matter which test you're taking.
But before we even get into the nuts and bolts, you have to understand the mindset. Look, the USPS is a federal agency. That means they prioritize safety and procedure above everything else. This test isn't about finding the fastest way to do a job, it's about finding the safest and the correct way. Trust me, your judgment is being tested just as much as your technical skills are.
First up, brakes. You've got to know hydraulic principles inside and out. You need to understand the role of the master cylinder, the difference between pads, rotors, and shoes, and the basics of how an ABS system works with its wheel speed sensors. Be ready for questions that make you diagnose common symptoms, like a spongy pedal or the vehicle pulling to one side.
And look at this. This perfectly shows you the USPS priority. Right after a core technical subject like brakes, we hit safety. This is completely non-negotiable. You can expect questions on PPE, your personal protective equipment, lockout/tagout procedures, and the proper, safe way to use lifts and jacks. They want to know you're going to protect yourself, your coworkers, and their equipment.
Okay, on to electrical. Get comfortable with the fundamentals here. Battery and alternator function, what fuses and relays do, and the difference between a short circuit and an open circuit. And you absolutely, 100%, have to know how to use a multimeter to measure both voltage and resistance. When it comes to engines, you have to know that 4-stroke cycle.
intake, compression, power, exhaust. Simple as that. You also need to understand the relationship between fuel delivery and ignition timing, and know what those key sensors are telling the computer. Your mass airflow, your manifold absolute pressure, and your O2 sensors. All of that stuff is critical for engine performance.
And finally, let's talk about professional conduct. This goes right back to judgment. The test is going to give you scenarios to see if you're the kind of tech who follows the procedure, documents their work, double-checks critical specs like torque, and communicates well. And remember that last point, 0 shortcuts. That's not just a shop rule, it's federal policy.
So you have the knowledge. Great. Now, how do you turn that knowledge into a passing score? Let's shift gears and actually build your winning game plan for test day.
A good mission needs a good strategy, right? So, the advice is to study in short, focused bursts. Think like 25 or 30 minutes at a time. And don't just review what you're already good at. Go after the systems you find most challenging. When you practice, don't just hunt for the right answer. Practice spotting and eliminating the wrong ones. That's going to sharpen your critical thinking, which is exactly what this test is designed to measure.
Now picture this. You're in the test, you're in the zone, and you hit a really tough question. It happens. In that moment, when you're stuck, what is the single most important rule you need to remember? This, right here, this is the golden rule. If you are ever in doubt between 2 possible answers, you pick the one that represents the safest course of action. I don't care if it's about a repair procedure or a workplace scenario. The safest choice is almost always the correct choice on a federal exam. You need to burn this into your brain.
All right, finally, let's talk about the 24 hours before the mission. This is not about cramming. This is about execution. Around 6 p.m. the night before, do one last brief review of your toughest areas. Then, at 9 p.m., you are done. I'm serious. Close the book, stop studying, and let your mind relax. Get a full night's sleep. Then, the next morning, wake up, have a good breakfast, and plan to get to the test center early, totally calm, confident, and with your ID in your hand.
And that brings us right back to where we started. You've done the work, you've put in the hours, you have the experience. This test is just the next step. You have the discipline we talked about at the very beginning, so go in there, execute your plan, and finish the mission.